Ladies and gentlemen, Aquarian Anarchy is back at it again. And tonight we are going to talk about how we are all destroying ourselves and how the world's going to end. It's happy-go-lucky time. Nothing to fear, but fear itself, I guess, or something. But
wait.
we're ready to rock and roll. We're going to have some fun. We're going to cut up. Y'all come join us. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You already know. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Aquarian Anarchy is back at it again. So this man and his work has been at the top of my mind, and I think it has started to permeate now. Like Marcus was just telling me before we came on that he has read some of this stuff. We're going to get into that. Neil Postman says, everything in our background has prepared us to know and resist a prison when the gates begin to close around us. But what if there are no cries of anguish to be heard? Who is prepared to take arms against a sea of amusements? To whom do we complain? And when, and in what tone of voice, when serious discourse dissolves into giggles? What is the antidote to a culture being drained by laughter? And that, my friends, is how we kick off this one-of-a-kind episode. What did we call it? Not with a bang, but with a whimper. I got to pull this up. This is our, this is our T.S. Eliot quote. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. That is from his epic classic poem, The Hollow Men. And gentlemen, Marcus, Nicco, how have y'all been? And are y'all ready for the world to end?
Man, I've been waiting since I came out of my mama's womb. What you call it? You know what? Even though the world's ending, I have a smile on my face. The reason I have a smile on my face is due to the fact that everything's a cycle. Everything must end. Like, you have to understand, even though I don't want my life to end right now, I have plenty of shit on my bucket list. Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck can you do other than what you're supposed to be doing? And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be enjoying yourself. So, at the end of the day, like, you sit down, you can sit with God, you can talk, you can enjoy times with your homies. At the end of the day, 'tis life. Thank God. Hopefully, if you hear me, God, or I know you hear me, can you please just not put me in shit like this where like I have to make sure I'm not drinking bioengineered fucking food or gotta like the shit was crazy. I'm sorry. I had a bag of chips that I always had. And then there was something on the internet that's been popping up to me. It's like bioengineered chemicals or some shit in it. And I'm like, wait, this wasn't on the bag the last time I had this. So now you have to watch out for like the food you eat. That sucks. But other than that,
Yeah. So I work in like the wood industry, and I was telling some people the other day, like people don't know this, but like shredded cheese has like cellulose in it. It has they actually take shreddings of paper and put it in there for filler so that they don't have to sell you as much cheese. They just bulk it up with a little bit of
that's fun.
So you know how like when your mom like tries to make a meal and like there's a whole bunch of rice and then not much else. That's because the rice is the cheapest filler that there is. And so that's what they're doing with that, except it's
I'll take some rice though.
It's not even cheese, it's just paper.
Facts.
That's awful shit, dude. This whole the conversation we're about to have and what Nicco said earlier reminds me. There's a song by one of my favorite bands, Nightwish, where it talks about that everything has a time, and and one of these days in the song they talk about that the time of man will come to an end, and in reality, I don't think that that's right around the corner. I think we've got some more bullshit to go through. I don't think God's done with us yet. But if we keep letting these tyrants be in charge and to skip a little bit ahead and entertain us to death, then it won't be a life worth living. But I've been good, man.
Yeah.
I've been busy, but good.
That's good. That's good. Well, so I wanna touch. Maybe we could start off so that we can get right into what the topic of tonight is. What you spent your Saturday doing, or Saturday or Sunday? What day did you say it was? Sunday. Okay, Sunday.
Yeah, Amber and I sat in the hot tub and crammed on some Neil Postman.
Yeah, so you listened to / read Neil Postman's "Amusing Ourselves to Death," and I want to give a little bit of background to this. So this book was written in, ironically enough, 1984, and a lot of what he was talking about in that book is what he was seeing at that time. And this is like pretty early on. This is like cable television is just starting to really become prominent. You don't have the YouTube and all the social media and the internet
at all
at that point. You don't have the proliferation of massive amounts of tailored to your desires programming, TV shows, series, movies, and all this stuff. Now you've got like all these streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. They all have their own original content and everything. AMC, Peacock, NBC, like all of these, Paramount. They have all of these different streaming services now that are
all
some of them. I don't know. I mean, there's some solid stuff in there.
There's some great exploitations that they got out there.
But so, like, what did you, as you're going through it? I want to get, before I give because I've gone through it a handful of times already in the last few weeks. I want to get what your takeaway was, like what really stood out to you that either he saw coming. Maybe there's some stuff he didn't. Obviously, he couldn't have predicted YouTube and Facebook and all this stuff, but he saw a little bit of a window into what was happening. What did you see? What was your takeaway from it?
Well, again, a lot of it was a predictive thing. He does cover computers towards the end of the book, and he doesn't envision the coming internet. He doesn't see that. He sees computer being another distraction, though, and has already seen that with video games and whatnot, and talks about that. What I think he really did is he took Huxley's idea and expounded upon it. And for those that don't know, because we didn't really cover in a little bit of an introduction, we're also kind of with this comparing 1984 and Huxley's Brave New World, which both are about the end of the world or about tyranny taking over. But in a different way. And I think it's
like a trajectory of the future of humanity that they both had, like a little bit of a different target maybe, but similar trajectories.
Sure. And I guess my takeaway was, oh my God, he saw, even when he just had, because all of the stuff, I kept going, just think what this dude would have thought about Twitter. Holy shit. Yeah,
right.
You know, the way that he talks about that, you know, for instance, one of the things he talked about was the news, right? We like to think, and most, you know, Ann Coulter at one time said that of the news that you can tell that somebody's going to become a conservative because they start paying attention to the news, because you know, Democrats and liberals don't watch the news for the most part. It's usually a conservative. And what he pointed out was that what really is the news nowadays? And this is in 1984. What is the news? Is it things that you can use or even that are concerning you? No, you know, think about the news that we get now. We're hearing about Ukraine. Ain't a motherfucking thing. I can disagree with it all day long, but there's not a thing I can do about it.
You're right.
Right. Because you don't tell me I can go vote.
Post a flag. That's it.
Right. Or
we're doing our part.
Correct. Or the news that came out of fucking out of Ohio with the all of the pollution and
chemical spill and everything. Yeah.
Not a fucking thing I can do about that either. The news is he mentioned was no longer actionable. Like you used to be like, hey, in your neighborhood, there's some, you know, person driving around talking to kids. We don't get that news anymore. Something you could actually do, something that actually, involves your life. No, it is just entertainment. He also pointed out that all of this scripted nonsense in the political realm is nothing but entertainment. And he said, think of the good presidents that have happened. Now, I would disagree with the whole wording good presidents, but but he was like, think about, who would be able to get elected. George Washington couldn't get elected.
Right.
He would not get elected. He was pitted face. He was not that attractive of a man. Most of the people until the television age, Taft, big fat dude.
325 pounds, I think they said.
Yeah. His fat ass got stuck in a bathtub. They're not going to elect his ass. I guarantee it. And
I don't know. Give it time. I think we may be approaching.
Right.
I saw somebody had a meme one time. It was like it was dominoes, and the first domino was President Donald Trump, and the final domino was President Post Malone. It's just like you laugh,
right?
But it might not be that far off.
Idiocracy is not far off from our vision, gentlemen.
For sure.
It's not.
For sure. And I recommended that movie to a guy I work with because I was like, I made a reference and he was like, Idiocracy. And I was like, yeah,
I couldn't believe.
Dude,
I couldn't believe Hotep Jesus hadn't seen it yet. I got to check with him to see if he's seen it, but he hadn't seen it as of like a month or two
Idiocracy
ago.
is exactly where we're headed.
Oh, for sure.
If we're not there already, shit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the clip that I found and showed him, it was the clip. It was the clip where the guy comes up and says, "Here, you got to put this side in your mouth, this side in your butt," and you hear boop 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 boop, and he's like,
no,
wait, put that the other way. I'm out. But
well, hey, that was the 2020, 2021, response team there.
Right.
Same people.
For sure. But ultimately, I think my takeaway was, oh my God, we really need to disconnect from a lot of this bullshit. And, one of the things that Postman said was that he's not a Luddite. He doesn't believe that we should just throw, technology out the window. I agree.
Well, he actually argues, in fact, that to argue such a point is to not really even take yourself seriously because it's ridiculous to propose it because that's not going to happen.
Right. It's kind of like our conversation with AI. We can disagree with it, but unfortunately, it's here. That is something we're going to have to deal with. And so, I think that largely what the word I would use to describe is triviality. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with trivial nonsense in our day-to-day existence. And if you are spending, hours a day on social media, what the fuck are you doing? How is that a good idea? And, so stop doing that. And, and television was bad enough, but the internet is way worse. So there's kind of my takeaways.
Yeah, I think so. When he's talking about how he saw the television medium and what it had done to change, just like the way that people thought about things and acted around things, like to your point about the actionable intelligence, actionable news. Like, what good does it do for me to know that Kim Jong-un has the flu?
Right.
Like, it's useless information to me.
Right.
There's literally nothing I can do about it. But you'll have a bunch of people writing articles about it and shit, and it's like, or like when Raul Castro was like sick or whatever, or was and Fidel was sick and like they thought he was dead like 5 different times,
Right.
Like, why does that matter to me? It doesn't. So we have all this information and it's like, whoa, we have access to all this information, but to what end? And that's where I think, like, sometimes to your point, like, if you separate yourself from that and only take it in like these bite-sized pieces, you put yourself in a much better position to be able to actually like have more control over your own life. And there's a whole lot of stuff that we have to be paying attention to that I think the biggest takeaway for me was that the television and so many of these different iterations as media has grown and has kind of morphed and evolved, is like we continue more and more to take things that are more complicated but are easier at the expense of doing some things that are hard but are very simple paths to success and to enlightenment, to a deeper spirituality, a better relationship with people around us, relationship with God, and everything else. I want to ask Nicco, because I think you and I, Marcus, are a little bit different in that when we grew up, there was no internet, and then the internet came, and we got to be part of it, and we got to watch some of this stuff. Nicco grew up where, like, hell, people he went to school with, maybe even him and people in his family, like they were holding an iPad or a phone or some sort of swipeable device.
My siblings are holding iPads
as toddlers. Like, so what do you see, and how do you what are the things that you see, like, from an influence standpoint, even between your generation and the generation beneath you?
First off, I'd like to say, with all due respect, fuck you, Parker, because I wanted to be the generation that had the iPads, and we weren't the generation, but I am so grateful for that as well. I didn't get anything until, like, I think my sophomore year. I had a Chromebook. That's if even. And what I've noticed with my generation and trickling down is when we started to have access more, like the technology in our hand, like I've noticed the generations, they feel a little bit brain dead. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. They're smart as fuck. I will say that. My little sister, she's on her iPad 24/7 and just has wherewithal about certain things. And I was like, was I saying that shit as a kid? Or was I thinking about that shit but like, no, like they're most definitely smarter than us. I'll give that degree to them, because
more informed or actually more in touch with their intuition.
Intuition.
Which one do you mean? Yeah, have better intuition, you think? Okay.
Intuition opposed to like informed, because they can be informed of a whole bunch of bullshit, and like they sit down and they can sit and stare at something, but it's not really informing them of anything positive. Now, when I say intuition, it's like you give a kid an iPad and they can figure it out faster than half of us would be able to, because they can sit down and go through it. And we're like, shit, like it kind of took me a second to get, like, as soon as I get this new iPhone, I'm going to feel like a fucking a caveman, because I still have a home button on my phone. So as soon as I switch over, I'll be like, hey, what is this? So like kids are able to like tap into their intuition, and they're able to, like, for example, my niece, Charlie, she can sit down and she's on her iPad playing like a whole bunch of like informational games, and she's putting like body parts and pieces together and shit like that. And I was like, I wasn't doing that as a kid. I was making mud pies and like pushing around roly polies. But like their sense of like, you feel me? Like,
I turned over so many rocks to try to find roly polies.
I got a tree. Toads. I have a tree that has so many hits. I apologize, tree. But when I was a kid, me and my brothers were playing the sticks, and the tree was just the target. But
for sure.
But I would say they're a lot more detached, but like intuitively saying or speaking, they're able to get a grasp. Maybe that's because they're kids and they're like malleable and things of that nature. But
yeah, I think so. I think it has a lot to do with that kids are still, they're learning how to learn. And so when you introduce that stuff really early, they learn it really quick because they're learning how to learn.
I would just say that they might be a little bit more brain dead and like to the matters, because like, for example, we've talked about this, the iPad being the teacher of your kid and something like that, and they're like solely like drawn to it. Like I remember times when my brother and I would be playing the video games and we'd be getting called, 1 second, give me a sec. Y'all don't have that shit. Y'all are like, like y'all are right there. You try and call a niece or a kid from the iPad, and they're I'm here right now. I'm not worried about you. So I would say they're our generation's detached more so than you all, but the intuition aspect, I would like to say, they're very, very keen. They're very, very keen on picking a lot of shit up now.
Well, let me push a little. Wait, hang on, pause. Let's go a little.
Why you pushing, Chad? I want to know.
I was gonna say deeper, and I stopped. Paused myself before I even said it. But no, let's
inspect this whole entire situation. Wait,
you said inspect this whole, man. You gotta stop right there. You gotta rewind. No, so I wanna. God, there are just so many words. I was gonna say probe, like damn, no, you can't say that either. Lee, I blame the rainbow.
I get what you're picking up, but I pick up what you're putting down.
Yeah, so when you say intuition, are you talking more spiritual, metaphysical, physical type of intuition, or are you talking about intuition? They intuitively know how to use technology, because that's two very different things. Like intuitively being like ready to like break a computer apart and like go into the software and all that kind of stuff and figure out how to hack around stuff and get by things is one thing, but like knowing what it means, I'll put it to you this way. My oldest son, they were like, let's see, what 2013, they were 7 and 4 years old. My youngest son said something about how he wished he had every power, because you could make it to where you couldn't feel pain and nothing would hurt you and all this stuff. And my oldest son at 7 years old said, yeah, but if you couldn't feel pain, what would be the point? Like you wouldn't be able to, like, if you don't have like the ability to feel the difference between pain and pleasure, like how would you even be able to feel anything good if you can't feel pain? And like so he was like in touch on this level, and there's a lot of other examples of similar things. He's seen stuff like images of things in clouds and on like the side of a building or in a tree or something that I'm like, how did you see that? So is it that kind of intuition, or just they can figure out an iPad quick?
I would say our intuition is actually a little bit like more in tuned, I would say, to a degree, because from what I've seen, in tune, like spiritually, like for example, we see a lot more kids opening up a lot more. They're not like, we're fighting back. Like, you know how each generation fights back ideology? Well, the end of the Piscean age has ended. And so spirituality, granted, is something that really is necessary and needed. It's branched out. And so since there's no structure amongst it, they're able to find spectrums that people weren't even able to think of. For example, your kid already saying, hey, you wouldn't be able to understand pleasure and pain. Well, from a kid to be able to understand it from that point of view, like, what kind of thought process have you already had? Like, what have you really thought of? And that's a kid of my generation and younger. Yeah. There's like my little sister, for example, being like cognitively aware of like her being a person. So this was around when David was walking around. Mama Vid was locking people up, and everybody was so worried. And I was like, well, what about my grandmother, who's very old and had taken all her vacations, unfortunately. But I was like, well, what about, Kayla? What about her being in front of Gunmare? And she was like, really, Nick? You want to talk about me right in front of me? And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how are you like able to really cognitively understand? I'm essentially talking about you in this whole. So I think with the generations to come, we'll be more locked in. It's just about the surroundings that have, I guess, drawn us away from our real connection. Because there's some kids who are doing some really like outlandishly like incredible things, and you're like, wait, how the fuck did you come up with that? Like, I've been on here for so long. We always have to understand, like, always are going to get an evolved answer from something so simplistic, such as a kid's imagination.
Yeah, I think I actually agree, Nicco. And I got two things to say about it. First of all, I think that I do think that you're right. There's a bit of a backlash that I think is going to come. And I think that the beginning of that, I see this with my daughter, and I see this with my granddaughter, and frankly, with one of my other, my youngest granddaughter, Kyra. I see like some of that natural intuition towards spirituality and towards those kinds of things, and that can be actually backed up by numbers. They just released, I think I saw this on the Ron Paul report. They had released that the numbers. And I think it was in 2022. It used to be for a long time that 1 in 4 young people believed in God. And now it's gone to 1 in 3. So that means that more kids, more younger people are believing in God when they're young. It changes when you get older. But when they're young, more younger people are believing in God than used to. And I think that that's part of the reaction that you're talking about. So that's number one. Number two, I do think that that intuition is is something that I think, at least I hope, and it sounds like we've given examples that is stuck, that they retained that portion of what it means to be a kid. But what they have lost is deductive reasoning. I cannot tell you how
I was
many.
going to ask about that too. Yeah,
I cannot tell you how many times I've told Anya, which is my daughter, for those that don't know, she's 13. I was like, "What do you use deduce, Anya?" She hates that word because she's all the time.
Critical thinking. It's the critical thinking because of what has been established in front of us. You have to think, if I have something that can pull up a library that you would have to walk to and you would have to search for it. My dad brought this perception thing up to me. So, for example, I live in Chicago, so it's a grid system. It's very easy to understand once you understand it. I haven't really gone up north and into the city downtown area as much as they have. They had to navigate it via memory and brain, like remembering a phone number. He was like, your orientation and your brother's orientations are different from ours. We used to use a map and we could really understand what like 5 blocks are, 6 blocks are, opposed to y'all, you're 250 feet. Okay, then turn right. And then you don't cognitively understand how many blocks are a block, or how many, how many streets that you have to go. So our deductive reasoning and critical skill and awareness of surroundings has been severely hindered by the reliance on something to do the work for us.
Right. As well as memory.
Memory, yeah. Memory has been stripped from us because we have something that remembers everything for us. But I will say this. I have multiple journals that I used to write in. I need to get back into it, but I have at least 3 big ass journals where I wrote down notes. I wrote down my passwords, and I just like have memory of like writing stuff down, and writing stuff down helps with the memory. But like, I remember what page it was on, which page it was after, and like things of that nature. But that's also because of my markup and my understanding and being. I don't always like to leave things to technology because I know it's faulty, So I mean, humans are faulty. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'd rather it be on my error and for me to try and understand how to fix the error in my way, as opposed to having something fix it for me. Therefore, I'd never learned anything.
Well, I was going to say too, so it started with, to Marcus's point about the book, and about that interview that he gave us, that the YouTube interview of Neil Postman, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name who was interviewing him either. But they talk about how, so like we went from the spoken word and people communicating and oral tradition and those kinds of things, to like now you start printing this stuff, you start drawing, and it changes. The medium is the metaphor, the medium is the message. Like it actually, the message being conveyed is changed by the medium used for it.
Absolutely.
Spoken word versus written word, and drawings, and like, I mean, how many times have we heard it? Like, the book was much better than the movie, right?
Sure.
You know, because it's a challenge, but it's also, I think part of it is because, like they said in that interview, your imagination got to paint the picture in your brain when you were reading that book, and what you have to watch is someone else's imagination, and then how they were able to successfully execute that on screen. It's hard.
I have the blueprint right in front of them. Just use the blueprint. Don't stray. Don't add any of your shit to it. It's right there.
Yeah,
it will always be better in your head.
Yeah, but there's that. But there's also like imagine you yourself trying to make a movie of your favorite novel.
Yeah,
you know, like some asshole out there is going to be like, that was terrible. That's not how I saw whatever dragon in my brain. My
perception of it. Everybody's perception
is different. Exactly. So there's some of it's that. Then as you keep moving on, and you have these presidential, you know, we had the Lincoln Douglas debates where they would debate for 7 hours,
right?
And people would just go sit and watch it. And now we have these debates where like you get a minute and you get 30 seconds to respond. And like I was even thinking about the debate that I did with Hotep Jesus and Vin Armani Cyprian, like, where I was like, man, we didn't have enough time, and we didn't like really. There's so many things that we could have done differently to make that, you know, to flesh it out better and make it more. But the attention span today is not there for that, and so I'm thinking this.
And I want to back up for just a second, Chad, to explain to people who have not either heard or read Postman's work. What the 7 hours he's talking about, let's put this isn't like 10 minutes of Lincoln followed by, you know,
5 minutes of Douglas and then back and forth.
Right.
And back and forth. No,
we're talking, this is the format. They did 3 hours of whoever was first, and then 3 hours of whoever was second, and then whoever was first got an hour rebuttal. And then the next stop, they reversed
it. Yeah.
So we're talking 3 hours of like listening to one dude
speak for 5 minutes. Okay, I get nervous to speak for 5 minutes, and these niggas are preaching for 3 hours straight on a certain top. Damn.
Yes.
Goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's that, and then you move to today, and now it's like some of the medium that the media that you consume, you know, Twitter has its little 140 character limit, 280 characters for certain accounts, and now they've made it to where if you have Twitter Blue, you can make Facebook posts from Twitter, which I hate. And it's funny, I'm like, well, I hate that, but I'm actually kind of arguing with myself. But it's almost like Twitter's what attracted me to Twitter was the fact that I didn't have to read these like miles long diatribes. I'm busy. I got shit to do. I listened to this book multiple times. I didn't read it multiple times because I don't have enough time where I can sit down with a book and actually read. I'm driving too much and all that stuff. So there's a lot of this stuff that's part of like our culture is eugenic towards this sort of stuff. It's conducive to these microwave types of consumption. But what I was going to say is that starts to feed into how kids are going to be able to use deductive reasoning. If you know that you don't have to really be that on point with your decision making, because even if you fuck up and look up the wrong thing, you can just type something else in to Google or ChatGPT at this point, and it'll spit out a whole new thing. Like, no, that's not what I meant. I meant this. When Marcus and I were kids, Nicco, you had to go to the library and you had to go through the card catalog and try to find something. First of all, you had to know a little bit about the subject to know what to even look for. Then you had to go in and look it up. Then you had to go find the book. Then you had to read the book to figure out where the shit was that you were looking for and if it was even in this book. And to do that, you had to check the book out, bring it home. If you got the wrong book that didn't have the thing you were looking for, well, shit, now you can just go Google. Like for this T.S. Eliot quote, I just went, T.S. Eliot, not with a bang, and it was like boom, it autofilled, and I was like, all right, done, I got it, and I found it immediately. I would have had to go. I've been like, what's the name of that poem again?
I did book reports where I had to go to libraries.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you had to go to libraries, really?
I'm a part of that.
Did you pull it up on? Yeah, but did they have computers?
Because
Did they have computers in these libraries?
I live that life too, brother.
Did they have
I
computers?
that lifestyle. It just wasn't my
in the
everyday
library?
lifestyle.
You're not answering my question. Did they have computers in the libraries, or did you have to go to the little wooden drawers of the card catalog and pull it out and go look the shit up by the Dewey Decimal System? Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
I asked the librarian.
You asked the librarian.
Right, cheating.
Yeah, see, it's like that. You go to like Barnes and Noble or something, like, hey, y'all have this book? They pull it up on the computer. It used to be the librarian or the bookstore owner would take you to the book.
I didn't have to go through little turnstiles and be like, oh, no. Like,
so I want to go back just briefly to the political idea with Lincoln and Douglas. Mm-hmm. One of the things also that that Postman brings up that I think that impacts us right now, literally right now, is, he was talking about that, like when Reagan and Mondale were, debating, that they had to get everything into quick, 5 minute. They're just looking for zingers to try to get stuff.
Yep.
All right. So that was his time. You know what that's developed up into our time? Trump is not going to fucking debate in the primary. Biden is not going to debate in the primary. We're losing the primary debates. We're not even going to fucking know what these people believe. We're not. I realize they lie. I get all of that, but they're not even going to be on record saying some shit. You're with both Trump and Trump saying that he should have it because he was president and all that. Okay, well, you got somebody challenging you. I want to hear their fucking ideas. And with Biden, same deal. Right now, if I had to vote for one of the two of those idiots, and I'm not going to vote for anybody, but if I had to, if they chained me to it, I would be voting for Robert F. Kennedy right now. Because he's the only one that makes any fucking sense on anything that I've seen. And I'm just talking about the two parties. I'm not talking about the Libertarian Party. Right. But I want to hear those ideas. I want to hear, if I were going to vote, I would want to hear, because all I really know about Robert F. Kennedy is the stuff he agrees with me on, because I'm libertarian,
the medical stuff, but he's anti-war too, but he's not anti-climate, whatever mandates.
I want to hear that
shit like that, yeah. Well, so with that, I would submit that, another thing that Cyprian has turned me on to, that I think is, it's starting to really like hit home, and like, shit, this might be where we are, is, who knows if by this time, at the rate that Midjourney, like my wife showed me, one of her students found this pizza commercial that somebody made, video commercial, completely made with AI.
Yeah.
With people eating pizza and all this kind of stuff. And it's a fake pizza joint, fake everything. All right. Who's to say that by this time next year, which is still 7 months from election date, who's to say that we're even going to be able to tell whether it's Ron DeSantis actually speaking, Joe Biden actually speaking, Dave Smith or whoever, or Robert F. Kennedy or Donald Trump or whoever actually speaking, if someone is able to deep fake a whole bunch of videos of a whole bunch of stuff and different political positions. You got Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever. This dude who just popped up out of nowhere. I seriously have never heard of this dude before. You and I have been libertarians for how long?
Yeah, I don't
never heard of this guy. All of a sudden he pops up and he's like the perfect libertarian co-opt agent guy.
Yeah.
Who like he speaks all this libertarian stuff, except that I want to know where the hell this guy was last year, let alone 5-10 years ago.
Right.
Oh yeah. Y'all don't got any information on this man? He just was like, boop.
Never heard of him.
That's
before,
an agent.
Like
that's an agent Smith right
ago.
there.
Exactly.
That's the
same as
Obama
for real. Obama popped up out of nowhere. Nobody knew who he was until he was Boom, Illinois senator. Boom, Illinois national senator. Given the speech at the 2004 Democrat National Convention.
Yep.
About the purple America, there's, blue and red and make it purple and whatever.
Yep.
Kind of, and
I predicted in that moment, I was like, that right there is the Democratic candidate next time.
Mm-hmm.
Knew it.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we'll even be able to tell. And so what Cyprian says is, how can you possibly have elections if you don't know what's real and what's fake?
Right. I know what's fake. Government.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, in a real sense. I mean, I don't mean
sure,
just.
I know what you mean.
I mean, like, you won't be able to tell. We already had, when they were talking about Trump getting arrested, they already had photorealistic images, and they have like some of the Pope too. Like they have all these different ones where it's like the Pope's running away from the cops and the cops are chasing him, and it looks real.
Right.
Like we're not that far away. I'm talking like months.
Yeah.
Months away from photorealistic, video realistic, audio realistic. Someone can go make a brand new Hotep's Been Told You, and they can make it look like Unc and Hotep Jesus.
And sound
doing
like
their
them.
show and sound like them and everything.
Yeah, saying the same shit they would say.
Start a new channel and all, you know what I mean?
Right.
And make some clips and put them out there. Can you believe he said this? Like, I didn't say that. Yeah, look, it's you right there saying it.
And don't think that those criminals in government are the private or the public criminals. Don't think that they are not going to reverse that too. Don't think that when they get busted doing some fucked up shit, they're going to be like, oh no, that wasn't me. No, that was a deep fake. Woo! No, that wasn't me. I wasn't doing that crazy shit.
About to get like really slippery and like really determining what reality is. So it's it's something that like it's ultimately going to change this world, like for what it is. Granted, we had tabloids and shit that was fake, but now this right here is about to be like something that really can like destroy careers and like alter mindsets and like
more and here's the other part too, like more so than like, okay, yes, careers, because we're already seeing some of this where there's this Hollywood writers strike that's popping off right now. SNL and all these other series and everything, they're talking about the writers just walking off and the funny thing is they want, like, part of their complaints is ChatGPT and producers using ChatGPT to like write to replace them so that they can be like, let's get ChatGPT to write these two segments, and then we only need them for these, and then you just keep dwindling the amount of time. I was gonna say, it's kind of like, Nicco, you played Fortnite, right? Or at least your brothers and sisters or whatever. So now they have the storm, and the storm starts off this way, and then it goes like this and keeps shrinking around you.
Yeah, it's shrinking.
That's kind of how this is. Like the Matrix is shrinking. We're already in the Matrix, and it's shrinking around us, and it's getting to where more and more we're going to be like, well, we can't really escape it anymore. And that's why I'm like, to the extent that I can, I'm choosing not to participate in shrinking the storm. Because every time you put stuff in there, even if you think it's for like, oh no, I'm doing this because it's making this thing that I had it write some emails for me. I had it, build this thing for me because I didn't feel like doing it, or it saved me all this time. Like, yeah, but what you're doing is you're starting to tell it what pieces of you don't mind being absorbed by the storm.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep going in that direction.
Absolutely. And I think that, a lot of people, including us, we like to think that it is, are we going to have Orwell or are we going to have Huxley? These assholes want both. If you don't think that they're going to soften the fuck out of us and make us compliant and not knowing shit and doing all the stuff that Huxley talked about, and then turn that switch and put a boot on your throat, you're not paying attention. Because that's exactly what they have done in other countries.
It's the perfect Hegelian dialectic if you think about it, from the standpoint of, all right, so you have the amusing yourself to death on this side, that the Huxleyan, we're going to be pleasured to submission.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you have the boot. Well, it's really easy to just have people run to this because they already like it.
Right.
And so the boot is over here just to remind you like how good you have it. If we just lock you in your house and let you watch Netflix all the time, you won't want to come out. So you won't even, at a certain point, you'll stop even complaining that we won't let you outside.
Right.
You won't want to come outside.
Correct. And for those that think this is, this is not, we're living in fantasy land. This kind of thing is happening right now, today in China, now.
You saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, specifically, I think it was last night, I watched We Are Change with Luke, and what he showed to start it off, it may have been from 2 days ago. I lost track, but I've smoked too much weed. But no, he showed what they've got in China. They've got a program. This was taken in a classroom where they have these motherfuckers. They have to wear the fucking shit.
It's like a halo. It's a halo with a. It's like they're playing online gaming. They have their little halo
recording if they're paying attention or not, and rewarding them and punishing them based on what they do. They are already conditioning these kids. They're already getting them ready to be robots because that's all they're going to be. Because they're not being allowed to be children. They're beating literally. They're beating the. Whether with a stick or in their mind, they're doing both. They're beating them into submission and out of their childhood, out of their creativity, out of that stuff Nicco talked about that we still have. They're taking it to the next level and are doing everything they can because those are not the elites. Those are not the kings. Those are the plebs. Those are the slaves. Those are the peasants. And so that's already here. This isn't something that might be coming. This is something that is coming. And
it's here. No, it's here.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like the storm is in China right now.
Right.
But it's closing in around us. And what I wanted to, I was getting at this, and then I distracted myself. I do this a lot where my brain goes. But Nicco was talking about how you'll lose your career and you lose your job, whatever. And there's all these things, all these material things. And it's not to downplay that because we are incarnational, like we're flesh and blood, and our soul is what helps to animate that, that flesh and blood and bone and everything. But this is much more damaging on a spiritual level because when you get to the point where you can't tell real from fake anymore, then what need do you have for God?
Right.
What need do you have for being in touch with creation, touching grass and like hugging someone or anything like that when you can have the AI, the whatever, the algorithm give you what you want.
Right.
Give you all of what you want.
Absolutely.
It's a thing that it's the sort of thing that sends you, because like my belief is we are separated from God by choice. We choose to not want to be united with God, and to me this just makes it easier. It just makes it easier and easier we're already terrible at choosing to be united with God. We chase after our passions way too much already. This just makes it so much more like the complacency is off the charts. Yeah, it's just like right there at your fingertips.
And Postman actually covers quite a bit of this in Entertaining Us to Death. The preparation for that was set in the 80s. He was talking about the televangelists, and that the televangelists, they never talk about, the hard parts of spirituality, the parts. Right. The parts that are hard, the dedication, the daily work, all that stuff. They don't talk about that. No, it's all love your neighbor, which is, yes, love your neighbor, but that's not all it is, and with the kind of the people that I kind of hang out with, like, I cannot tell you how many Wiccans, remember, Wicca is supposed to be a nature-based religion. These motherfuckers don't go outside. Yeah, where's your nature, motherfucker? Did you grow some shit? Did you, come on, go at least hug a tree. Come on, you got to get outside if you're going to have a nature-based religion. That doesn't make any sense. So it's not just Christianity that has been watered down by this nonsense that they have put us in. Yeah, and it is like Postman, and frankly, like Huxley talked about, it is rewarding us for pleasure. I like to sit in my backyard and smoke a joint and just chill. That's something I enjoy, but I cannot nothing would get done if I did that all the time.
Right.
I've got, and I'm not just talking about work. I'm talking about, doing stuff around the house or making sure that, things are working, hanging, I put rails up a couple months ago on the, down the stairs. I need to mulch my backyard, things like that. There's shit that needs to get done. I have to mow. I have to do that shit. And I can't do it if I'm sitting on the back porch smoking a joint. Now, don't get me wrong. Just like he pointed out that there's nothing wrong with watching. He used Cheers, which I love because we're watching Cheers again because it's a relatively entertaining show. And so he said Cheers is safe. So I'm like,
so what he's talking about, though, is that like when you understand TV for what it is an entertainment medium. The biggest problem is Sesame Street and the news.
Correct.
Because they pretend to be serious, but they are just entertainment. And what they've done is Sesame Street has actually revolutionized what people's expectation of learning is.
Yep.
And the news has actually revolutionized how we determine what's important and what's not. That's why, like, I was actually having this discussion today I was at the state capitol all day, from like lunch through like it was a long lunch. It was like 11 to like 2. But I was talking with some people there, and we were talking about the whole medical industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and I harkened back to this kind of little back and forth I had with Project Rook. She called me. She had posted something, and I said something about like how the medical industry like just wants they focus on pills and surgery because that's where their money is. She's like, it's not that simple. She's like, if people pushed back, they wouldn't be able to do it. But people want that. They want the I don't have to show me where I don't have to change my diet and I don't have to exercise. I get to keep eating what I want to eat, doing what I want to do, and not doing what I don't want to do. But I still get to be not dead tomorrow. And they're like, okay, fine. We can cut out your gallbladder and we can give you these pills. Right. We're like, all right, cool. Sign me up. And so it's a chicken and the egg sort of conversation. And it's the same thing with our media. We get the presidents and the representatives that we deserve because we are too stupid to call them out and demand better.
Yeah,
we keep gobbling it up, and we keep having. How many times, Marcus? How many times have you and I interacted with people who tell us that we're stupid for wanting to support a candidate they've never heard of? Because it doesn't matter that candidate is by far leaps and bounds better on every issue than the two people who we are forced to choose between, because they tell us if we choose this person who's better on everything, then we are making the bad person the worst of the two main choices. We're making them win.
Right.
And they want us to choose the lesser of two evils instead. And it's just like, well, this is what we deserve because we have asked for, no, I want Ow My Balls on, back to throw it back to Idiocracy. I want to watch Ow My Balls. I don't want to watch a 7-hour Lincoln Douglas debate.
Right.
About important issues.
Right.
So we end up in Wall-E. We're all floating around on a pod, fat as shit, with an iPad right in front of our face. The person we're talking to is sitting right next to us, but we won't turn and look at them.
Right. Yeah.
They're too fat.
You can't turn your neck because the neck
my 600-pound life is going to be everybody's life. And then they're going to be floating and just like completely docile.
The thing is
6 million ton life.
to go back to Orwell and Huxley again,
Mm-hmm.
and how I personally think it's going to be both. Nicco, I think I get the it's funny, and I agree to a point, but that isn't what's going to happen. What's going to happen, because this is not sustainable, and they know it. The people that are the shitbags running the world, they know that this is not sustainable. They know that you cannot be lazy for the rest of your goddamn life. They know it. And what they're going to do is they're going to get us compliant to where they can get control, and probably kill a bunch of us off. Let's just be clear.
So that when the activity comes back, they're in control of the activity. Yeah.
Correct. Because you cannot, and this is the robodope that has been going on throughout Europe for as long as I've been politically aware. I remember when people were all scared that Greece was going to fail. And what they did in Greece was they paid for everything. You get free this, free that, free medicine, free college, free this, free that. Well, that's not fucking sustainable. So what they did was they upped the taxes to where they're paying like 70% of their fucking income in taxes. And they said, oh, but you got all this shit for free. And then when it didn't fucking work, what did they do? They pulled the goddamn benefit. They stopped giving
austerity.
them free college. Right. They stopped doing that, but they still got the goddamn taxes. I personally think that though I think that the mechanism is that to get us to what Orwell was talking about is Huxley. I think that's how we get there, because Postman's absolutely right, and the what we were talking about with the quote that we started. If we, how many people, my neighbor would be out fucking throwing a fit if they started trying to lock motherfuckers up right now,
Right.
So no, they're not going to do that. They're going to ease us into it.
That's the only way that they can. You got to, lull the sheep into their slaughterhouse.
Right.
That's all you got to do. And then the ones that are wolves in sheep clothing will just slaughter you guys on the way, or make you docile and neuter you. Now,
the hopeful portion of me thinks that, there's a lot of fucking people who are starting to see it. And I think that ultimately, I've said this before, I think we've got about 10 years ahead of us of some hard times. And it's going to get likely worse than it is.
Oh, no, this is nowhere near.
But I think that eventually, because humans are not that bad. We are not the only three motherfuckers talking about this.
Right.
There are a lot of people who see it. Is it 10%? Maybe. I'll take it. 3% of the population in the United States overthrew the largest empire the world had ever seen, and that was the British government. I believe that if we can get a solid 10% of people that aren't anarchists, aren't like us, aren't 100% on board with freedom, but are 75 or better in agreement with us, I think we can do this. If we can get it at 10%, but it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. So what people have to do, this is the solution portion of this. What we have to do is start preparing now. Develop, and yes, I'm beating a dead horse. I get it. But start developing people that you talk to. And I'm not just talking about people like on in forums like this or the Hotep Nation or those kinds of things. Those things are good. But I'm talking about, we found in our area, there's a little farmer. It's got a little stand, right? And they sell, we got eggs for $5, farm fresh eggs straight out of the fucking chicken's butt.
With shit on them still. That's,
right.
Yeah. That's the kind of eggs we get too.
Right. So we got those.
Lucky bastards.
My
neighbor got those.
Look, man, you don't even have to put them in the refrigerator until you clean the shit off of them.
Yeah. You actually, eggs are actually very interesting things, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we have shit we want to sell. We're going to talk to these people And we're going to be like, hey, we have some
Butter
extra
trade.
produce. how about we hang out with you? You know, and we're already doing some other stuff. For instance, I went and saw Michael this past weekend. We have starts for both a raspberry bush and a pear tree that came straight off of our raspberry bush and off our pear tree that we're going to give to Michael. So that helps him produce food. So do that kind of thing. Start preparing now. And the second thing you can do is start pulling yourself off the digital slavery. Stop, I'm on Twitter too. We're right now on YouTube. So I'm not saying abandon it completely. Do not spend hours a day on it. Don't do it. There are more important things, and do it now, not tomorrow, now.
Well, and to the extent that you do spend time with that, spend time like using those things to build relationships with people that you can collaborate on stuff with. Like if I go back and look, okay, yeah, I mean, there's some stuff where I have goofed around. Twitter's a fun place to cut up and all that stuff. And I get it, it's a lot of fun, but a lot of that fun also we're having with our friends, like these are people who we have actually had conversations with either on the phone or, via the Twitter, back and forths and stuff like that, or we've had them on our show or whatever the case may be. Some of them we've met on the Hotep Nation Zoom calls. There's all these different ways where we've actually built relationships with people. It's not just let me just scroll through and let me shit talk some bots or some whoever AstroTurf. No, this is like legit. We're building relationships with people and building connections and actually, like in some cases, even working on projects together, like the three of us. So it's using it appropriately, using that stuff appropriately. I think there's something to be said for that, but yes, absolutely. And I mean, you probably noticed I'm not posting as much as I used to. Same. Every time I go to try to it's either some stuff where I'm like, no, that's like, I don't want to be that guy anymore who posts what I was about to just post. I want to be a different person. Because some of it's not necessarily good, not healthy. And and there was a temptation to like dunk on people who they're human beings too. And I know it's fun and it like gets you points within our like-minded groups, but truthfully, like there's a little bit of your soul that you have to give away when you do that stuff to another person, Well,
it's not nice to make fun of the retarded kids.
I mean, every once in a while, somebody needs to be bullied. But then again, like at the end of the day, like, do I need to be the one who's the jackass today? Like, do I like? Is there like there's some essence of like, okay, that kind of thought process was dumb, but son of a bitch. There's also
motherfucker.
I'm sorry. There's also an essence of like you being like patient with somebody. Like you got to be patient with people, and even if their rhetoric and ideology and thoughts just make you want to rip your hair out like a Dave Chappelle episode, but like it's not that episode where old lady got her hair snatched from a midget.
Dave Chappelle, silly man.
There's a balance to it. So it's like, it'd be fun to like shit on this person, like pause. Like it'd be fun to like be like all right, I'm gonna give you a piece of my 2 cents. Now, how you go about it is also a different thing as well, because instead of like, trying to go for their throat, just be like, okay, I'm gonna tap you on your forehead. Let me tell you something about you. Like let me explain something or elaborate upon it. But I mean, sometimes somebody just needs a good in the face. You feel me? Like a good old.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just noticing, like, we're on episode 158. That means that sometime, like 2 weeks ago or somewhere in that neighborhood, was 3 years since Marcus started doing this show by himself. And I don't know, that was just kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
I just, that's why, like, while Nicco was talking, I saw the 158 and I was like, wait, 156 would have been 3 years. And I know we skipped a week or two here or there
Sure.
for different reasons, getting banned because of Nicole. Damn
Probably
it.
2.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh? 3. No, it's like 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how long it's
because I started doing this with you
2
in
years.
April of 2020.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago. So it's
Oh,
been yeah, you were doing it for a few
Yeah.
months before
Jesus
that.
Christ.
So it's
You're
been
right.
a long time.
Yeah.
But no, like I don't know, y'all. Like it all goes back to like I don't know. Wake up in the morning and pray. Then spend the day loving your family and like fulfilling your mission that you're supposed to fulfill every day, and hug people and smile at people and do the things that you need to do to help people not need some of the stuff that makes the tyrants' jobs easier. And then at the end of the day, pray again and then rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of that so much because there's so much of this stuff that we're bombarded with, this imagery and all that other stuff that is just, it's meant to distract us from what we're really here for.
Yeah, and you know, I agreed. What we need to do is focus down on it. There's nothing wrong. Example: I'm watching a show. I think it's on HBO about the Grateful Dead and their history and what have you. And it was talking about Jerry Garcia, who just decided, "Fuck it, I'm going to have fun every day," and you know, that's a very alluring thing. I like the Grateful Dead. I think that they are wonderful musicians, and I like a lot of their message. I think they typically talk about loving one another and trying to find peace and all that stuff. So I generally like the Grateful Dead, but it should be pointed out that many of the members of that band died early. So, you know, one of the things that they talked about, and like on episode 3 or something like that, one of the things they talked about is they watched all their friends die. And, you know, you can't do LSD every day and not expect there to be a fucking repercussion to that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're talking about. You cannot be entertained constantly, and whether it's a mental or a physical reaction, you're going to be paying for that. And I'm not telling you not to have fun. I have fun. When we get done here, I'm going to go up. I'm going to spend time with my wife. I'm going to probably smoke a bowl and have a good time. I'm going to ease into my evening. But I did some work today too. I worked at work for 8 hours. Yeah. I came home, and then to me, this is work too.
Yeah.
This is something.
Oh, me too.
Do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fun. It's fun work, but it's there's some days when I'm exhausted. And I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. All right, I got to wake up from my nap then. All right.
Right. So, so basically what I'm saying is, you have to do moderation, and that's just the way life is. And often that's the spiritual message, whether you're talking about the Bible or you're talking about like spiritual Buddhist stuff or whatever it is. Moderation, generally, no, you're not supposed to kill folks. You're not supposed to steal from, the shit the government does every day. Right. You're not supposed to do that. But other than that, the Bible doesn't tell you can't have fun. In fact, it encourages it. It encourages enjoying life. And you just got to get, is it really more enjoyable to, and I like Cheers, like I said earlier, but is it more important to watch Cheers or spend time with your family? Which one's more important? And I can
watch Cheers with your family.
Right. Watch Cheers. right, for sure. But what's more important? And I can learn from that too. One of the things that has been a blessing to our life, and Chad and I are going to talk about it after we're done here, but is we added that hot tub to our life.
Chill. You can't talk. Wait a second. I'm thinking about getting my own hot tub. That's what we're going to talk about. Right. I just want to put that out there.
Happy.
This is not.
Chad and I gotta be special in the
Look,
hot
Hotep
tub.
Jesus is already like on. He's on the hot seat right now because he said some shit in the one. I didn't even see the stream, but I saw the clip where he said some really pause-worthy stuff. I don't want to be in that category, so I'm gonna stop you right there, Marcus.
For sure.
All right,
sure.
continue.
But
But yes,
but no. One of the things that was a blessing to our lives is we got ourselves a hot tub, and so Amber and I have been spending time in the hot tub together, just bullshitting.
Just the two of them. I'm not there.
Yeah, yeah. And Chad, we brought Chad in.
No,
I gotta tell. Chad lives in
What
Louisiana, folks.
Look, so what? Real quick before I forget. So Grateful Dead and me going up there, all that kind of stuff reminds me. Nicco knows this already. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Chicago, and it's supposed to be Grateful Dead bobblehead day. So if they do, you're getting the bobblehead, Marcus.
Oh my God, I'd love to have a bobblehead.
But that's only because I'm actually going to get to, if he can peel himself away and hang out for a minute. Nicco and I are going to try to hang out for a little bit while we're up there. I'll finally get to see Nicco in person for the first time ever.
Cool.
You sure will. You sure will.
That'll be awesome.
We'll talk more details after.
Yeah. So go ahead, continue, Marcus. I'm sorry.
No, I had actually said, but what I said was what I was talking about. What I was talking about was that I've taken the more important thing of intellectually stimulating myself by having conversations with my wife, who is way smarter than I am. And so
it doesn't, I'm just saying.
right. So are rocks.
That doesn't say much. But no, Marcus is one of the smartest people I know. Shit. Amber must be a fucking rocket scientist or some shit.
Dude, she's a different kind of thinker. She's more of a right brain thinker. I'm more of a left brain thinker. And, but yes, she's quite intelligent. But those kinds of things, the creative portions of ourselves. One of the things that I think it was Postman talked about as well was that we've gone away from storytelling. And I got to thinking that's actually, because we don't storytell. We go to the TV. Or we go, we don't read books, or
but even then, he talked about storytelling versus reading books. Like you wouldn't tell your kids stories. You would just hand them a book. You would just hand them a book and say, "Here, read this book," and then you could go do something else while the books, the little story books, were the iPad of that era. Like here, read this book. Read this story book.
Man.
Yo, look, we got a bond. I got a fire pit in my backyard. I got firewood and everything. That's what we do. That's what we do. And if I do read anything,
build the fire pit in my backyard as well, and I'm gonna make benches and stuff for that.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, no, bring back storytelling.
I like it.
That right there, like that expands upon the imagination of everybody who is engaged in that conversation, from the person who's creating the story, from the person who is sitting down and imagining the story. Shit right there. That right there is
then you can kind of riff off of it, and you can ask you questions.
We play popcorn.
But Granddad, how big was the dragon? And shit like that. It's like
3 feet 3'9".
Oh shoot! But no, it's my daughter used to do, like, she was crazy about that when she was little. She used to demand that I had to tell her a story, like, from my childhood.
Yeah, my daughter does it too.
And I'd be like, bro,
I ran out of stories.
I don't have that many interesting stories of mine. I'll try. I'll do what I can. There's one of I got stung by a bunch of wasps one time when I was chasing a toad. You've talked about this, but a toad went into like some little bushes, and I went in there to grab the toad, and I hit a wasp nest, and I got stung all over my face. It was like the day before school pictures. So my school picture, I've got like a wasp sting here, like all over. It was horrible.
That's a story to tell, though. That's a story to tell. The mustache story.
I don't even know the mustache story. What the hell are you talking about? I probably don't want to know. But yeah,
I was gonna tell my kids the mustache story.
Tell his grandkids the mustache story. Yeah. But no, storytelling has gotten, it's become somewhat of a lost art. It's a little bit easier for me because I come from this. I say for me, I feel like anyway that I've got a leg up because, like, I come from Kunas country where we got like I got so many Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes that I have never seen written, but that I know by heart because my dad has told them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got this one.
I don't even know what that is.
Boudreaux and Thibodeau.
Yeah,
it's these two coonasses who. All right, so I'll drop.
What's a
one
coon ass?
Wait, what's that?
You don't know what a coon ass is?
What are we saying?
Yeah,
what are we saying?
It's the
I know, Nicco. I feel you.
It's the derogatory term that they called Cajun people back in the day, and that's what like so we kind of took it on ourselves, and we were like, I guess it
means something different up here.
Call us coon asses. No, not coon ass. Coon ass, like all one word is just it's a Cajun person.
So not coon's ass, but coon ass.
Right.
Coon ass. Yeah. Look it up. You want to pull it up?
You know, let's pull it up. Let's please pull it up.
Let's pull it up. All right, here we go. All right.
Let's air this out, gentlemen. Let's air this out.
Let's do it. All right.
Because it sounds
right. That sounds like
coon
oh shit.
ass.
I know it does. All right, so look
I feel like it's
watch
like
the Google results too, right? Damn, my shit's glitching like a mother. All right, here we go. Give me a second because it's all right. So here we go. Coonass Google search right there on the screen.
Right here.
Coonass is a term for a person of Cajun ethnicity. Some view it as derogatory. However, many Cajuns embrace the name. The term is believed to originate from the French word "connasse," meaning fool. So, and it says, "What are Cajuns called?" Oh, they even have couillon. Oh, let's go. All right. So you got for 2 centuries, Creole had been the dominant term used to describe the region's people and culture. Cajuns existed, but prior to the 1960s, they did not self-identify as such in such large numbers. For Cajun were and are a subset of Louisiana. Oh, okay. So what is Cajun called? All right, that's stupid. What is couillon? So couillon is like just a goofball, like a nut. Like so that's what it says. A foolish person. Yes, there we go. So cool. See, we got all these little terms that we call each other. But anyway, so Boudreaux and Thibodeau are these two coonasses, all right? And boy, they pass a good time, yeah. You want me to give y'all a Boudreaux and Thibodeau joke?
Yeah,
who wants
yeah.
Raise your hand. Press one in the chat if you want to.
You gotta say it in your Louisiana accent. You gotta.
All right, so this is a good one. I gotta go to one that I know I'm not gonna fuck it up, and I know I know the whole thing of it and everything, and so I'll nail the punchline and everything. All right, so I got to get into this character here. All right, so Boudreaux and Thibodeau, they go to this out to this dude ranch out in like Arizona or Colorado or somewhere like that. All right, they go in to ride some horses. So they get their horses and they're riding along, and you know Boudreaux's in the front, Thibodeau's in the back. And all of a sudden, Thibodeau he says, "Man, Boudreaux, they got some Indians back there. They look like they mad at us." He's like, "Oh, man, I don't know why they mad at us. We just let me know when you see them and they get about this high. Let me know, cause that means they're close enough." They're riding along. He's like, "They get a little bit closer, Boudreaux." He's like, "Man, Thibodeau, how close are they?" He said, "Well, they're about this high now." And then so you keep riding along. Boudreaux, they're getting closer. How close are they, Thibodeau? They're about this high now. He says, "All right, well, let me know if they get a little bit closer." So, a couple of minutes go by. They're riding down. They're still riding along. He says, Man, Boudreaux, they're right on our tails. I don't know what to do." He says, How tall are they?" He says, "Well, man, Boudreaux, they're about this high." He's like, "Man, shoot them." He's like, "Why can't I knew them since they were this high?"
That's terrible.
It is terrible. But that's the
Nice.
that's the Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes. It's
Fun.
There's another one too where they're driving to Houston for something. They're driving down I-10, and so this guy gets pulled over, and he's arguing with the cop, and the cop's like, "You want to tell me why you're going so fast?" He's like, "I got you going 110 in a 70." And he goes, I was like, "Look, man, I'm on my way to Houston. I'm in the circus, and I'm running late, but I really need to get there. The governor's going to be there, and like I've got to get there on time. I'm like on governor's orders to be there. He's got a whole bunch of, he's got some people he's trying to entertain at the circus." The guy's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard a lot of people try to get out of tickets with some wild stories. But you're in the circus? He goes, yes. He's like, what do you do in the circus? He's like, well, I'm a juggler. He's like, oh, all right. So why don't you juggle something for me? He's like, well, I got to go to my trunk. So he goes to the trunk and he's got bowling pins and bowling balls and, other balls and everything. And then he's got these torches. And the cop's like, he goes, all right, let's see you juggle those torches. So he's like, really? He's like, yeah. So he takes them out. He starts juggling. He's like, no. You got to light them and then juggle them. He's like, okay, fine. So he lights the torches. He starts juggling them. He's doing this right about that time. Boudreaux and Thibodeau are driving by. He goes, oh, man, Boudreaux, hide your beer. That DWI test is getting tough.
Right on. So one of the things that I think is an advantage, we were talking about this past weekend listening to Postman, is that I think my kids, and it sounds like your kids and probably Nicco's kids to come, will be in an advantage because my kids do get told stories. They do get, and a lot of, because the people that don't know, Legbuz's a huge deal for me, and because of my spiritual practice.
The best storyteller ever.
Right. Legba is a storyteller. That's what he does. Every single thing in my tradition, every single thing that is just a story that Legba is told. And so storytelling is massively important to me personally. And when he talked about that, I couldn't help but think, you know what? I hear my son telling his daughter the stories that I told him. I hear, my daughter, ingesting and regurgitating the things that we told her. So I think that's a benefit, and that's something that we have got that we will pass on to the next generation and fight some of this nonsense where they're controlling the stories, they're controlling what the future looks like. Because ultimately, one thing that was a good video that we haven't mentioned that was in the Anarch chat, and just so people know, again, go join our Patreon. It's $5 a month. You can then you'll get into the Patreon chat. And frankly, what I really need you to do is hit that. Go to watch us on Rumble or Odyssey, but go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, because we are 15 people. 15.
And share it with some other people and get them to subscribe too.
Right. 15 people away from being able to do super chats. So please do that. But
we're 15 people and about a month, thanks to Nicole. But that's another story for another day.
Right. But again, I really think that we can get through this nonsense. We can start focusing down on the things that matter. And, the stories that we tell will be told of us. One of the things we have to realize is that, and this is also me preaching to myself, I'm never going to be super famous. That's never going to happen. I realize that. I know that. I don't even really care. But I'll tell you what, I'm a superstar in my family. My family loves me, and those people just really look up to me. And that's what matters. It isn't these other people that are, miles away on a screen somewhere. It's the people that you actually interact with. And I get that technology has been very helpful. It allows me, Chad and I were acquaintances 3 years ago. Now we're very good friends. I would consider Chad, frankly, Chad and Nicco in my top 10 friends. Chad's probably my second best friend. Him and Michael compete. so it is.
Nicco, you're third.
Nicco's probably about fifth.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nicco's top 5. Okay.
It's upon me because
is Nicco top 5 dead or alive though? That's the question.
I don't know about dead, man. Then probably have to find him. I can't do much with Nicco if he's dead, man.
No. That's not how top 5 dead or alive goes. Are there any dead people who you would rank ahead of Nicco?
Oh yeah, there's lots of dead people. I'm sorry.
All right. Am I top 5 dead or alive?
Hey, you're not in my top five dead or alive.
He talks nothing to but dead people. So it's like, I can't get mad at
this. Is true.
Like,
this is true. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Good day.
I tried. Look, I tried.
Start there.
I tried.
Right. So, but no. But we need to start focusing on the shit that matters, and move away from mediated conversations. James Corbett talked about this. He has a whole series out on corbettreport.com about how media has really, and he uses Postman as well as a source. But he talks about how mediated media, it means divided from us, that it's not these are not real 100%. You're gonna, even with like Chad, Nicco, and I have becoming quite good friends, we're gonna have a moment of having to kind of figure things out when we do get together, because we're not used to I'm not used to Chad being so much taller than me, as an example. He's those kinds of things.
Nico's taller than both of us. Aren't you like 6'1" or something, Nicco?
I wish. Not 5'11".
Oh, okay. Well, then we're about
he's about my height.
We're about the same height then.
No. I'm probably 5'8".
God kept me at 5'11" and put all of my siblings at 6 foot and higher. So, like, I'm technically the runt of my family, but I'm not the runt. They're just all smaller than me until they're bigger than me, and I am the head of the tree that they want to chop, because all the years that I
it's like that,
was
man.
big brother, and now they're all getting big and big brother, and so now I have to like go Super Saiyan Ninja mode to make sure that I can remain and hold my title. Because
do they do this to you? Do they get up, go up here, and be like,
all the time? My little brother Matthew is the one that will most definitely come and try and challenge me. He was like, Nick, I will surpass you. I'm right here, Nick. I am right here. I'm right there. I love him. He's the one that brings out the challenge. Jalen is only competitive when I get competitive with him. That's my twin. You got Caleb. Caleb isn't the competitive when it comes to physicality. He's the competitive with the wits. Then you got William. He's the master plotter, so you don't ever know what he's thinking. You can just get a gist of what he's thinking. Then you got Elisa, who's annoying. I love her so much. She's just annoying. But then you got Edward is the compliant one. He's just like, hey, Nick, how's it going? I'm real chill, laid back. He's the one, the nurturing brother. And then you got Kayla.
So you got Caleb and a Kayla?
Kayla, yeah. Yeah, I love Kayla so much. I love her.
Wow, man.
I love her so much. No, she's adorable, but she's very, very sassy for her age. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? Like, how are you coming up with this kind of attitude? And you're not even... Yeah. So she's really intuitive as well. I will say that. She's very, very intuitive. And she's really, really on the spiritual tip. She's talking to me about crystals and all the shit that she can, like, cognitively believe. And I'm like, oh, I guess you are. Like, she's eons above me when it comes to the spiritual stuff and certain aspects at that age. So I can only imagine what she gets into after she talks to me and then grows at my age. So, like, I'm going to be learning things from her very soon.
Yeah.
So
it's hilarious watching my sons interact, because Raven, who's my older son, he's about 5'4", 5'5", something like that. Nathan is 6'3", and he's my younger son. He's 19. So so he calls Raven his little big brother.
That's how my baby brother is. My baby brother's like 6'2", 6'3", or something like that, and he's the baby. But he's not a baby no more. I'm not that short though. Man, 5'4", and from what you tell me, he's built like a damn. He's like Ironhead Hayward or some shit. He's like a little bowling ball.
Yes. He is a huge muscle. That dude, man, he absolutely, you know, I'm very proud of Raven right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm proud of all of my kids, but Raven has really kind of stepped up lately and been doing what he can for the family. And so I'm really feeling Raven right now because of that. He's really coming into being, you know, he's 26, I think. And he's really coming around to really kind of grasping what it really, you know how it is, you know, when you're young, like Nicco, you know,
yeah, I still got like at least a good 2 to 4 more years until my maturity is like officially matured as a man. You know,
yeah.
I was gonna say, hell, at this point now, after 3 years, Nicco's a damn grown ass man. Like he's
right, for sure.
He's like an old grandpa now.
I still got a lot of growing to do, but like 25 in like the next month, which is kind of scary. This shit is kind of scary, but I'm excited.
No, 2 months, right? Oh no, wait, it's May.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I gotta get him his birthday present soon.
Oh. Right.
I'm like, hey, yo, Carlos, bro, you want to pump the brakes a little bit? This time, right? This time shit needs to just a little bit. CERN, stop fucking with these particles.
I'm still writing Tiger on my checks.
So, like, this
You're
is
writing Tiger on your checks.
It was a Chinese New Year joke. Yeah,
I don't have any idea.
Yeah, you know, like instead of 2022, I'm writing Tiger on my. Anyway, it's
terrible.
It's not my joke. It's an old joke that
It's a terrible one.
It is terrible. Just like the Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes are terrible.
Yeah. Well, guys, this has been fun, and but I think it's about time to wrap her up. But if anybody has not looked into any of the 3 primary books we talked about, I did put links down in the description to audiobooks to all 3, 1984, A Brave New World, and Entertaining Ourselves to Death.
Amusing Ourselves to Death.
Yeah. Those 3 books are excellent. Regardless of who's right and who's wrong, they're all really good, and they really give you a window into the plans that have been set for a long time. And a lot of people will I've heard give people shit because they're like, they're all leftists. The left used to be cooler than it is. You know, that's just where it's at. They hadn't proven that communism was awful when
right.
At least the first 2 were doing shit. And so you got to give them a little bit of a pause because frankly, you know, I'd take the left from back then. They'd be a hell of a lot better than the right or left now because they actually stood for something. And those authors certainly did. There's an argument that Huxley was actually like programming, that he was, you know, predictive programming towards the future and was putting out what their plans actually were. And I've heard that. Yeah, maybe if it's true, he put out what the fucking we're doing. It's okay. Yeah. I'll use it. So definitely take a look at that stuff. Again, I strongly suggest that any of the other people we've talked about go check out Hotep Jesus and Uncle Hotep for their content for the stuff with if you haven't checked out the AI conversation between Hotep Jesus and Cyprian, definitely go check out both of their stuff, and also James Corbett. Anything else you guys want to mention before we head out?
Go check out my readings. I just dropped one today, on May. So, and then I did another one. We're working on picking.
Where do they find you?
On my YouTube channel at Wise Weirdo. I will send that over to you so I could drop that in the links.
Drop it into the links.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be appreciated if y'all are interested in figuring out what your May reading or go check out the other videos that I'm working on. That shows some love. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Yeah, I'll just say, I don't know, guard your soul. Like it's, we talk about a lot of different things on here, and I think that it's really easy for us to get caught up in a bunch of silliness that is meant to keep us from the path that we're supposed to be on. So watch that. And I will say this. So there's a series that just started on Peacock that is it's called Mrs. Davis, and it's basically about like so it's like a nun who refuses to like tap into the AI, and the AI, like everybody has like earpieces, and they're like constantly in conversation with what amounts to like ChatGPT, and it sends them on quests, and anyway, bro, it is wild. Like it's like
what's the name of it?
Mrs. Davis.
Mrs. Davis. Okay, bet.
Yeah, on like NBC Peacock, whatever that streaming service.
Don't worry, I'm a bootleg.
The same one that has Bel Air, and there's some other stuff on there too. That they had like Yellowstone on there for a minute, but Nicco posted the link. So, but yeah, it's really good. Like it's wild how dead on they are with some of the stuff that we talked about. How they'll learn what you love and what will attract you, and what kind of flame your moth wants to fly towards, so that you will fly into the flame.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, look at that. It's the thing I remember from when I was 9.
Yeah.
And like, that's where we're going with this stuff. There's so much of this that, and the other thing is too, like hackers and like, they're already starting to do some of this shit where they're tricking people into thinking they're talking to a family member and getting them to give up sensitive information. So just be careful, guard your soul. Like Marcus said, spend time with your family, love them. And I don't know. I know we talk about like it's far off. We may have 10 years. I don't know. We may have 10 months. We may have 10 minutes. We don't know. Do everything you can every minute that you have, like it's your last, and make the most of it, because yeah, and that doesn't mean you can't have recreation, you can't have fun. Like that's part of, just don't let that become the end in itself. That's the means towards the end of your own spiritual fulfillment. So that's it.
Cool. I have to. I know we're getting ready. On my behalf. But when you were talking about the moth and flame, I do have to tell this story. I had a spiritual teacher of mine. Her name was Anita. I'm not going to give her last name because she'd be horrified, because she's a hardcore liberal. But anyhow, I had this spiritual leader. Her name was Anita, and one of the fraternal orders that I belong to has a ritual called the Gnostic Mass, and it's very similar to the Catholic Mass. Except for there's a naked chick on an altar. Anyhow, she went to this thing tripping. Right. So she is on acid, and they're doing it outside, and there were tiki torches everywhere. And so at the end of the mass, you go up to get your cookies and wine. Right. So she's getting ready to go get her cookies and wine. As everybody's going up, she's noticing that this moth is going around one of those tiki torches. Right. And she notices that every time somebody goes up to get their cookies and wine, this moth gets closer to the flame. Well, she's like into it, because she's like, oh, it's like what we're doing. We're going to the light, and we're finding God and all this stuff. And just as she stands up, the moth goes in the tiki torch. She was like, oh,
symbolism happens.
Yeah. So anyway, I just had to tell that story. It's been great, guys. And again, put down your phones for a minute, put down your computers, and do things that matter, and stay free.
Peace, y'all.